the army actually chased down the police, killed about 3 of their members, I believe.
Reportedly, right?
Allegedly, but now we've actually come out that it's true. Yes, allegedly at the time, killed 3 of their policemen and rescued the kidnapped kingpin and set him free. Yeah. So just this week, the police rearrested the kidnapped kingpin, and he actually confessed that he was working with the army. He was working, he was giving them money to keep him safe. So we see that the insecurity in Nigeria is actually a systemic problem and not just, you know, an outcome of out of the blues happenings. So can you talk to me more about this? What can we do to improve the interagency collaboration within the security forces?
Thank you very much, and good morning, everyone. I think some of the things we need to look at is we have a problem, first of all. I mean, and these interagency issues within security is not just peculiar to Nigeria. I mean, it's happened in the States and all that. But one thing that drives, you know, them in other countries is the fact that they are chasing a particular, you know, goal in trying to wipe away some form of, you know, threat to their nation's security. But in Nigeria here, we've seen a lot of challenges where, you know, their interest is not to chase down the issues that we're having, that's the security challenges that we're having, but it's like to show who is doing more, who is not doing more and all that. So that needs to be addressed, and I think it's a leadership issue. So we have, of course, we have the State Security Service, we have the NSA and all that, all these people, we have the police, the army and all that. There needs to be, I know that there's some security meeting that normally happens amongst that, the group of the security agencies where they, you know, address certain issues. So that needs to be looked into and try to avoid such embarrassment, you know, going forward. Yeah.
But so, you know, in the past we used to say the problem in Nigeria is we don't have the right data about people. We don't have information stored in the central database, for instance. And so now we have excess information. We have BVN, we have your national identity management cards, you have voters card for identification. Same thing with, yesterday I was at the Vehicle Inspectorate Office, VIO, and a road safety officer came and was having an argument with the VIO officials because they had stopped someone and they were dealing with that case. Now, on a normal day, they should have all of this information on the system where they can just check and see it's being handled. So it's across board, but in several agencies. Why should we have the police when they can have a traffic unit, but we still have road safety, we still have VIO, and they're not talking to themselves? So Livingstone, what exactly do you see is the problem?
Superiority contest, supremacy battle. Now, even during the election, let's just play a little drama where, for instance, a sitting governor comes with a security aid, and the opposition candidate comes with his own security aid, and when violence erupts, you see both security attachés exchanging banter.
It happened between Amici
and fists.
Well, it's happened across the country.
Yeah.
My organization observed in 29 states, so we saw a lot of that across the country. It's not peculiar to a particular area. I think part of that, the reason for that rivalry, if you ask a child now, when you see army man, see policeman, who you go run from? Is that go run from army, go police? Because there is this, you know, before this time, only the army was chief of defense staff. You get what I'm talking about? They held that position for a very long time, and that continued to send the message that the army was superior to the other forces, armed forces. Until, was it under Yaradua? What government was that that appointed, is it an Air Force officer to man that particular seat? So, but basically, I think one of the things that has to happen is, in trying to solve the problem, is having an administrative model that defines the role. It doesn't appear to be in place, an administrative model that is coordinated. That's why you have the Minister of Defense. That's why you have the National Security Advisor. You imagine where you're having an interagency rivalry and then security chiefs are invited to brief Mr. President. And they are giving him conflicting information and reports. on a
but
particular
don't you think
matter.
the duplication is the problem?
No, it's not about duplication. It's about knowing your job. When you call it division of labor, right? Let me give you an instance. I was at the road safety office to lodge a complaint. This is about 4 months. I applied for my permanent driver's license. They gave me a temporary renewal. And I told them, look, each time I'm driving, between Port Harcourt and Owerri, you have close to 40 checkpoints. That area is garrisoned. And the policemen, they are looking very horrifying and all manner of insecurity challenges going on there. And then you have a road safety official, maybe 1 or 2, that you meet close to police checkpoints, and then they check your driver's license temporarily, say move on. The next police checkpoint stops you, so you go and tell them, why have they allowed your temporary driver's license to expire without renewing it or giving you a document of extension of time, pending when you get, what's it called?
The permanent
one. SMS for the permanent one. I said, no, they asked me to carry it. I said, no, lies, no, it won't work like that. They should go and give it to you. And it's not their job. And then you go back to the road safety officer. I said, no, go on. The other day I had to confront one at the office here in Abuja. I said, you don't tell me to confront an armed madman on the street. Because the man there is trigger hungry. He's intoxicated. You want to challenge him, he will shoot you off and throw you into the forest. You're gone. So now I accused him. I said, enough is not being done between your agency and the Nigerian police in addressing these issues in the interest of innocent citizens.
Who does the honors fall on to address these issues? We saw the army and the police meet with Mr. President at the State House when this issue happened with the kidnap kingpin, Alhaji Wadume. And they came out again and started fighting themselves on social media. So if President Muhammadu Buhari...
I think the onus is on the NSA because he is supposed to be the one coordinating the whole security apparatus of the nation.
But he was in attendance in the meeting with the president.
Yes, that's why I say it boils down to some form of leadership issues.
It's leadership.
So would you concede that he has failed in his duty?
I wouldn't say he has failed. I'd rather say that he needs to do more in tackling some of these issues.
And this is not the first situation.
Yes.
So we've
it's
had...
Not the first
so
time.
for
like
instance...
I said, it's happened
But Tonye, let's even go back to an important item. We've had the EFCC chairman in acting capacity for almost 4 years now. This is one of the top positions in Nigeria when it comes to the fight against corruption and financial fraud and the like, in acting position. And we now saw during his screening where I think the DSS had a different report from what the NSA's office. And so
is
how
the NSA's office an investigating authority?
But
so
they oversee.
Now, who may have briefed the NSA if indeed you are saying
NSA or
DSS? So there were the DSS and another agency, but there were two security agencies, and that has happened, and we've gone past how many years with this person acting. So if we've not been able to take a stand in such a situation, how do we expect the police and the army not to have the issues which we saw on social media?
Well, I think that has nothing to do with interagency rivalry. That's an administrative matter with respect to...
But that's the problem. Where's the collaboration?
Basically, nipping it in the bud, it has nothing to do with interagency rivalry. Because we painted some pictures here where, for instance, a VIO person accosts you or arrests you or whatever, asks to pull over. He's asking you the same question the policeman is asking you.
Road safety.
He's asking you the same question the road safety man is asking you. Even the army officer on the road is asking you. Sometimes the army will clear you up and ask you to present your driver's license, tinted glass permit, and so on. It's so much drama on the roads. But the idea is this. If we want to deal with those issues, the NSA has to come with a drastic measure. Because enough of... the IGP bears so much burden. The number of police officers on the roads are too many. Now, the IGP can give an order. Police does not have a right, or they should dismantle all the road checkpoints, right? And those checkpoints are still there, and that statement comes as a mere oratory, as it were. So, but coming again to deal with such statements in the face of the recruitment processes, if you look at the recruitment processes, that's one of the issues we had with SARS when the protest against SARS came up. The type of people that were recruited into SARS. They were doing everything, land case, all manner of cases and so on, until a measure of, what's it called, sanity was brought. I think it's still work in progress. More should be done. But the thing is, if you look at the recruitment process, some of the people you even see bearing arms as armed force personnel are people you used to know as either hoodlums and criminals somewhere with criminal records. So I think the area of background check, we should not subject recruitment procedure of the formations to political patronage, where one politician has to bring his own list, and so on. People are bringing
but
it
Livingstone,
and
I
influencing
wonder,
the process.
with this glaring misdemeanors, with this glaring failure of the National Security Advisor, because both of you have conceded that the onus of responsibility falls in the office.
It's not failure. Yeah. It's a shortcoming.
Why?
Yes,
so who's responsible for that?
It's a shortcoming. It's the same problem with Nigeria. What happens in police is the same problem you find in Nigeria.
Let me even give you an example.
You understand?
We had the Nesria and NCC issue at some point, over the years with this, the ECHO, the EMR issue, radiation issues, and Nesria went to stop an MTN mast from being built and all that in a particular area, and NCC came and said, oh, why should you stop? We're responsible for coordinating what happens with the telcos and all that. Now, at the end of the day, the two ministers who oversee these two ministries had to come together to try and resolve the issue. However, that ought not to be so. There must be clear-cut definition of everybody's responsibility. And when a responsibility is overlapping another, two agencies or the heads of those agencies should be able to come together and say, look, how do we solve this issue for a common goal? Mr. President is one man. He has a team of people. These ministries, departments, and agencies, these are people that he has brought in to help him achieve his agenda. So in achieving that agenda, everybody must be seen to ensure that they carry out Mr. President's agenda.
That's synergy.
That synergy needs to be done.
But how realistic is that? Because we have a case where...
If it is not done, then the onus also lies on the President to say, look, you are not doing what I asked you to do, then you need to step aside, or you need to be cautioned to ensure that this...
Adding to what you said, during Mr. President's inaugural speech, when he was inaugurating the ministers, hear what he told them, you must work as a team.
As a team, yes.
And partner, the lack of teamwork. There has to also be a feedback mechanism. I like it when the SGF read out a policy direction for the ministers. You have a timeline, this is a target, this is what you should achieve, and so on. But those targets and the achievements and goals should also be made public so that citizenship participation. Because the lack of a policy direction with these issues, lead to all the kinds of impunity you find among these agencies. Because the interagency rivalry is not only restricted to the security forces. The MDAs, the ministries, departments, and agencies also have them. At some points, you even have them overlapping in their responsibilities.
If we go back to the
so there has to be a proper governance, survey, and let models for governance, because there doesn't appear to be a proper governance model.
So you see, my problem is that I don't want to talk about just what should be without placing the burden of implementing this on the shoulders of the person who's responsible.
That we have mentioned for the security.
You've talked about the solution. I want to know now.
Who should take responsibility?
Who should take responsibility? Who should Nigerians blame?
For security issues, the NSA should take responsibility. For other issues between the MDs and all that,
the SGF
and the Chief of Staff should take responsibility. That's what the President
Reporting
has said.
to Mr.
The
President
has said, look, for coordination, for fake issues, SGF should take responsibility. For coordination issues with him and all that, the Chief of Staff should take responsibility. So he has come out to say this is what ought to be done. Now, like taking from what he said, it now has to be with the coordination of all these things. If citizens know this is what, each MD or whatever is supposed to do or carry out, then the office of the citizen will now come up and say, look, this is not going. So instead of blaming the president, with somebody who is responsible.
Hold the man in charge responsible.
And we can point and say, okay, the man who is in charge of road safety has a problem.
But in reality, we also know that the DGs of some of these security parastatals, the people overlooking some of these security parastatals, refuse to report to the director of the NSA because they believe who should be responsible.
For instance, Look at what happened
So
with
the
Ministry of
precedent
Health.
there.
Fire them.
No, but Livingstone.
Because
so
you
It
see,
needs to be brought up because there's a lot of things that the
it
president
happened
does
with
not
Ministry
see
of
ahead.
Health and NHIS.
see, fire them. As a matter of fact,
Yeah.
one line of action Buhari did not take in his first tenure that he should take now is you are fired.
Yeah.
You are fired. Maybe we'll go back to the apprentice. You're fired. No,
Trump
it's
style.
because if you can't produce results,
Yes.
leave the scene. Because for every department, ministry, or agency, or any armed formation, many lives and many programs of government are tied to it.
Yeah.
So failure or non-performance will crumble a lot of expectation. So we would not, because of the inefficiency or inadequacy of one man, maybe because of where he comes from, on account of his ethnicity or his religion, and you say, okay, let us overlook. Meanwhile, things are going bad. There should be no room for compromise. This should be a time for performance. And also, they should also give the room for citizenship contribution, either by way of, objective criticism.
Yeah.
Without them
Contribution to
disappearing.
knowledge.
Yes.
They should consult.
Very key
Yeah.
point.
Now,
without
them
the person
disappearing.
but we
Good.
don't have
Now,
any more
another
time.
area
No,
is
no more.
stakeholder management. There appears to be poor stakeholder management.
Yeah.
If you don't engage stakeholders in the process and isolate them, then you would not know what is appropriate at a given time, and everything is crashing.
That's a fine place to leave it. Livingstone, Tonye, thank you so much for your time. We'll take a short break right now, and we'll be wrapping up the weekend show. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back. Helping us to sign out today, we have Ene. Take it away.